Hooty hoo, all my stock market gamblers. Welcome today. I'm Tall Mike. So glad you're here. What do we got going on in the stock market? Well, we're actually having a down day today. Dow's down about 300. NASDAQ's down 100. But we gravitating right on the SPY. The SPY is what I like to trade, and it's just gravitating to that 380 level. 380's been holding right there at that level for the last 3 weeks. Okay, so we're going to break one way or the other, right? Right now it's tough to make money because we're just moving sideways. We're in this sideways pattern. Now, I still think we're going to break to the upside before we go lower. I think we're going to get a bounce up. Reason being that we're oversold. We're oversold at this point, and I think we're going to bounce higher, and then we're going to move a lot lower in this market. The bear market's not over. It's not over by any means, but a lot of people are betting on that downside right now, which is probably going to get a short squeeze, which will send us higher. Now, why am I making a video on a Thursday? I don't normally make videos on a Thursday. Well, number one, it's pouring down rain here in California. I had other plans, but I'm going to stay in today instead. So I decide I want to talk to you guys. I don't have anybody else really to talk to. And what I want to talk today about is not real estate. Well, it kind of is. It's more the everything crash. The everything crash. Now, a lot of people, this is where I lose a lot of friends, probably going to lose a lot of subscribers. That's okay. I just want to have a little chat with you about the everything collapse. All right, so the U.S., in my opinion, we're not headed in the right direction. I feel that our system, it's failing. It's failing the financial system. The financial system is breaking down, and it's going to fail eventually. It's going to fail. It's going to fail because we have too much debt in this country. We have too much debt. Now, we're approaching $32 trillion in debt. And that's been increasing $2 to $3 trillion a year. During the pandemic, $3 to $4 trillion, but on average, about $2 trillion a year keeps going higher. Now, if you go back to the 1980, okay, the debt to the GDP of the country was about 35%. And that's, very reasonable, right? And then in the year 2000, that debt to GDP had almost doubled to 60%, right? And that's getting up there, but still acceptable. But today we're at 121%, the debt to GDP ratio. This is not acceptable because it's going the wrong direction. All right, so you take $32 trillion, that's what we're in debt, and you start to see the Federal Reserve, they're bumping the interest rates up. Their goal is to get to 5% and then hold steady at 5%. Well, if you got $32 trillion, and most of the debt that we have is short-term debt, about 80%, I think it will roll over within the next 3 years. It rolls over and you have to repurchase the debt. And when you're repurchasing the debt at 5%, let's just use rough numbers. Let's say we got $30 trillion and we have to refinance it at 5%. All right, so that's $1.5 trillion every year that we have to pay just to service the debt, Now, it is true that as the government and tax receipts and everything, they're bringing in right around $4 trillion right now. Now, that number probably will get reduced down as we approach this recession that we're going in. So that may drop from $4 trillion down to $3 trillion. But between $3 and $4 trillion is what we're going to be bringing in. But we're going to be paying out $1.5 trillion just in interest upon the debt. Now, what do we get for that? We get absolutely nothing. Now, we've been in a lot of debt before. After World War II, we were in a very high debt to GDP ratio. But when we were in that debt, we were getting something for our money. We were getting infrastructure. We were building the roads. We were building bridges. We were building infrastructure for the country. Now, right now, our infrastructure in our country is very run down. Now, the reason that is we don't have any money to fix it because all of our money now is going to interest. It's going to pay the interest, and when you're paying the interest on the debt, your country's not getting any benefit from this. We've already had the benefit because we borrowed the money, and now we're not getting any benefit, but we got to pay that money out. That $1.5 trillion is what that'll be. 5% times 30 trillion. Now, how much is that for every citizen of the U.S.? Well, like I say, we got $32 trillion worth of debt, and that's about $100,000 for every man, woman, and child that lives in the country, right? $100,000. Now, of course, you have your $100,000, and you could send that into the government so we could pay this debt off. A lot of people don't have $100,000. About half the population can't afford a $400 emergency, right? Well, okay, but you see, now not every man, woman, and child is a working person. Now, if you go to every taxpayer, the people that work and they pay taxes, it's $250,000 that they owe to the government just for the debt, $250,000. Now, I'm pretty sure anybody doesn't have the $250,000 to send into the government so that we could pay this debt off. Now, this is just our debt. Now, I'm not even going into the unfunded liabilities. Now, the two biggest, okay, I'll go into it a little bit. The two biggest unfunded liabilities are Medicare and Social Security. And every year, the expense that we have goes out. And Medicare, it's about $1.5 trillion we spend, and Social Security payments are about $1.2 trillion. Now, us baby boomers, we're not going to get rid of that. We're not going to let the government take that away from us. We paid into the system, and the government's basically squandered the money away. They don't have the money to pay now. And that's just how, those are just facts. The Social Security is going to run out of money, as well as the Medicare system. Now, this is a problem. This is a problem in the U.S., and I think, like I say, I think we're going in the wrong direction. What is going to happen is I think it's going to be the end of our financial system, the end of currency. Now, this is a $1 bill, and if you had this $1 bill 100 years ago, it would buy you $1 worth of purchasing power. Well, today, that same $1 bill purchasing power 100 years ago, now this is a penny. This is a penny, okay? Anyways, this $1 bill turned into 3 pennies. 3 cents of purchasing power is left of the $1 bill over the last 100 years. Now, this is just a fact. It's, you can argue all you want. It's just a fact. The dollar bill has eroded. And that 3 cents, they're going to erode that away also. It's going to be a failed fiat currency. All right, so a lot of people are starting to vote different ways now, right? They want out of the system. So let's take the Bitcoin people. They invented Bitcoin as the new form of currency, and you can have your money in Bitcoin, but very volatile, very volatile. It was up at 70,000, now it's around 16,000, but that could be the new form of currency because people want to get out of the dollar. See, the dollar is really a con game. It's the financial structure of it. You need confidence. There's nothing that backs the dollar anymore, and we can print as much as we want of this. I mean, a lot of counterfeiters, they just take paper and they just print this stuff. They can put number 1, they can put the number 10, 50, 100, even 1,000, right? They can print as many of these as they want. And they're pretty worthless, right? They're not backed by anything. They used to be backed by gold and silver, and that brings me to another point, right? So a lot of people want to get out of the system, and they put their money into gold and silver because gold and silver tends to inflate. When you get these spending bills for $1.7 trillion, it tends to inflate, right? I mean, in 1970 is when you were, well, you could buy, it was legal to buy gold again, and right, it was legal to buy it, and you could purchase it about $35 an ounce, and well, that was 1970. Now an ounce of gold at about 1,800, right around there. So gold has gone up. Why the purchasing power of this has just dwindled. I mean, it's just gone straight down. So eventually this is going to go away. Now, I think it's going to go away when they bring in that CBDC, the central bank digital currency, right? Okay, so the Federal Reserve will have all the currency and it'll be tied to their own digital coin, kind of like a Bitcoin, but it'll be controlled by the Federal Reserve, okay? So they can actually take the money from you to pay taxes anytime they want. They can have a record of everywhere you went and spent your money. And cash, they want cash to go away, and they're desperate to get this to go away. They want to have control over every movement. Every dollar that you spend, they want to know where it is. But when we get the reset to the CBDC, maybe it'll be something like you take 10 of these and you get one of those, okay? A 10 to 1. 1, maybe it'll be 100 to 1, where 100 of these get you one CBDC. At some point, you're going to have a reset, because this is just going to become worthless, right? It's already becoming worthless. I mean, you can go to the grocery store, doesn't buy as much. You can go to the gas station, and it really doesn't buy as much, right? Now, the system, it's going to come to an end. All fiat currency has always come to an end, and it's not just the U.S. It's a worldwide problem, and the dollar, they say the dollar is very strong against other currencies, but it's not very strong when I go to the grocery store. It's not very strong when I go to the gas station, right? It buys me less and less than it did just a year ago. Basically, it's called inflation, right? And that's a tax on the citizens. That's a tax that we pay, a 10% tax, and it goes away, right? I mean, no, you send your regular taxes in on top of that, but it just goes away. Now, a lot of the MMT people, they say, well, why do we have to pay taxes? Why not just have the government print more of these? Well, they want to do both. They want you to pay taxes, and they want to print more of those, and that way you get taxed every direction possible. But it's a failed system, and you got to protect yourself. Now, I'm not saying gold and silver are the answer, but you want to have a little bit of those. Maybe Bitcoin's the answer. I'm not saying that either, though. I'm not a big fan of Bitcoin because of the volatility and because, well, I just don't believe in it. It hasn't been around long enough, right? Gold and silver have been around thousands and thousands of years, and they've always been portrayed as money. But you see, now right now, the government doesn't want you to think of those as money. But what's happening? Well, all the central banks around the world, they're buying gold, they're buying silver, they're stockpiling it, because they know that when confidence is lost in the dollar, that's when the dollar goes to zero, and more people are starting to lose confidence in the dollar, and that's going to push the dollar lower and lower as far as purchasing power goes. It needs to have confidence, and once people start to realize that the dollar is not going to buy you anything pretty soon, you go in the store, $20 loaf of bread, maybe. That's if you're lucky. It's going to happen, I guarantee it. This is going to go away, right? But it's a con game. It's a confidence game. As when people run out of confidence in this, it goes to zero. And then people want to run out and buy anything to get rid of this stuff, because this stuff isn't going to be worth anything, right? So they want to get their money out of the bank, and they want to spend it as quickly as they can on hard assets. And maybe that's what real estate is, a hard asset. I think real estate's very overinflated right now, and I do think that's going to come down, so I wouldn't be running out to put these into real estate. But I do think gold and silver are reasonably priced, maybe even a little bit suppressed. And a lot of people, when this starts to just go away at a rapid pace, then people will get all their money out of the banks, and they'll put it into hard assets. Maybe, I mean, if you're a farmer, maybe you can stockpile wheat. Wheat's going to be very valuable. Food's going to be very valuable. Maybe you could buy some cows if you have land and raise them. But it's going to change, and it's changing at a much more rapid pace than I thought it would. I thought it could last a lot longer than it has. It's coming very quickly because of it's just irresponsible what we're doing as a nation. The spending bills that come out, I mean, trillions and trillions of dollars. And when this economy starts to go down this year, they're going to print trillions and trillions of more dollars, which is going to make this worth less and less. Now, this is going to be a collapse of the whole financial system. At some point, there's going to be a reset. Now, I don't know exactly what that reset will look like. I don't know how it's exactly going to play out, but I do know that this is losing purchasing power every day. And so you might want to protect yourself with some gold, with some silver, physical. I don't like the GLD. I don't like the SLV. Yes, I use them to trade, jump in and out of, but I don't like them. I want the physical stuff. That's what's going to hold its value. It's not going to go to zero. This is going to zero at a rapid pace. It's just green paper backed by nothing. As soon as we lose confidence in it, it is worth absolutely nothing. Now, I didn't mean to depress anybody today. I just didn't have anyone else to talk to about this, about the death of our financial system. Now, it's very disturbing, and a lot of people don't like this, and I get that. So I'm going to come back tomorrow and talk about the real estate market. I'll talk about what Billy Bob's doing, and we'll get back to normal. I just wanted to get this out there because you're the people that I like. You're the people that get this. Anyways, if you like this stuff, give me the thumbs up. If you hate it a lot, you can go ahead and unsubscribe. If you really liked it, though, hit the subscribe button, and maybe we can talk more about this later. I'm Tall Mike. Get out there, everybody. Have a great Thursday. Bye-bye now.